so then we're celebrating, you're saying two things, and that Thanksgiving really was a celebration. We may have been celebrating the harvest, but that occurred at that time in the manner in which it's being celebrated now is as a result of that. And also that there were more than, George Washington was not the first president, which is evident in the fact that he was a general prior to being a president, and that has to be assigned by a president.
He was a general of the Army. He was the ninth president.
Right. Now, what I'd like to do at this point, and I want to go over to Messiah, but first, I need to introduce to my immediate left, Lord Noble Nature El Bey, Grand Sheik of the Great Seal Circle 7, Moorish Science Temple of America, Asbury Park Territory. And we want to now go into, since we've done some history of how we've gotten to where we are and what has occurred, we go into explaining the slavery, the bondage, the indenture, the bureaucratic slavery, which I'm understanding, Messiah, as you say, began with the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment creation of the artificial person or corporate person, which is an opposite of a natural person, and that's what I want you to explain. What is an artificial person?
An artificial person? An artificial person is a corporation. When you look at the Constitution, when it talks about the 14th Amendment, it says, all those born and naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the states in which they resides. They're really speaking about a corporation, because there's other areas of the Constitution which come in the first articles. It says no one but a natural born person can hold the office of presidency. So when we say artificial, going into the 14th Amendment, we're talking about all those born and naturalized. Corporations are born and created by the state because they are corporate entities. And it is under this scheme that the so-called Negro has been placed into this subjugated situation by the Union slave masters of the Union Society of 1863. It was an elaborate scheme that they used in order to, as you would say, for lack of a better word, hoodwink a group of people and steal their nationality, their birthrights, and their land, their culture, and most importantly, their surname, Bey, Il, and Ali. See, the 13th Amendment, though today we are using it in the Constitution, it deals with there shall be no involuntary servitude or slavery or peonage in the United States. What's most important that most of the public is not aware of is the word, it says, except being duly convicted. So this is part of the scheme after 1865 that was used to continue to perpetuate slavery by taking the property, the people who were considered property before 1862, from the sovereign citizens of the state, placing them up under the United States. But in today's modern day and time, the state as well as the United States participate in the enslavement and the gathering of lots of money. And how they do that is, how I said, through the 13th Amendment. It says, except a person being duly convicted. The average so-called Negro in North America, or minority for that extent, any people of color that is not considered European, he is subject to that position because of the attorneys in the courtrooms. What they do is they offer him a plea bargain. And in this plea bargain, because they set up a mode of procedure in their laws, it allows them to trick him, scare him, and cause him to waive the rights that he would normally have to be duly convicted under the due process law of the land, and actually hand himself over in a very simple manner. And in doing this here, he is not only imprisoned, but he is also fined. And again, what's most important here is that the word except inside of the Constitution. So when we go back to it, it says really slavery shall exist in the United States except a person be duly convicted, which would be by due process law of the land, which would be under the common law. That does not take place, and this is why the prison industry is so overpopulated and underrepresented by our people. And even in today's society, it's now it's about to be privatized, whereas now it's going to be on the stock market, where you can place stock inside NASDAQ and things of that nature in order for you to gain a profit from the misery and the pain that has been forced upon these people because of the names that they have accepted that allude to slavery and the misuses and the abuses that the citizens care to bestow upon them because they honor not the principles of their forefathers and their foremothers.
Now, honoring not the principles of their forefathers and foremothers, that brings us right to nationality.
Yes,
That is what claiming nationality is.
right.
That that's not honoring your mothers and fathers exactly means that.
Right.
You
And
must do that.
you must do that, and you must honor the principles of your forefathers of yesterday, and you honor them through name and principle. Okay, the names that are recognized by all free national governments, okay, is Bay, Il, and Ali. And when you do not honor the free national name and principle of a free national government, you can be subject to any misuse and abuse. I'll give you a good example. The names that the average brothers and sisters have today is Brother Smith, Brother Jones, Brother Wolf, Brother Johnson. Those are slave masters' names. Those are names that are attached to property from yesterday. But because of the elaborate scheme and how they use certain forms of operation to shield their dirty ways and actions so that the others would believe in them, it puts that group, or the so-called Negro, in a precarious situation, whereas it's difficult for him to get out of that.
All right, I see. So that's why it's important that we give this information. It takes some studying and supporting. They can look through and find. For instance, there's certain documents, and if I may ask Divine, Ali, I.S.L.A.M, there are certain documents. Can you name certain documents that one might go to study to find some of the support information?
Well, a document that one can go research is the Treaty of 1787, or the Letters of George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco. Now, the difference is that the European added 580 years to the calendar. So, being that this is 2006, you take 500 from 2006, it brings you to 1426, which it is in the Islamic calendar. Now, when you go research these documents, you're going to see, as you say, the elaborate schemes of how they change the directions and certain things, as they say in their thing, which is masonry, how they allude to things in, as you say, allegorical senses. Now, as my brother TARIK has stated, that there were administrations before George Washington. This is where these schemes came about, because George Washington was the general of the Continental Congress, which is where the Moors was in power, and when they fell in 1774, 1776 is where the European declared his independence. Now, the Declaration of Independence is a document which is their first constitution, which states that all men are created equal by their creator. But then in their Article 1 of their constitution, they said black people is 3/5 of, or I should say the Negro, which is referred to as Moorish people, is referred to 3/5 of all other persons due to being stripped of their nationality and their surnames, El and Bay, which attaches them to the land.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So by honor, by name and principle, in order to be recognized in this government and come back into the constitutional fold of government, we must claim that nationality. Now, I know some years ago, I believe, it was Ralph Bunche that was trying to speak into the United Nations, not Ralph Bunche. He was Ralph Bunche. He went to speak into United Nations, and they wouldn't allow him to speak. Now, the general masses were uprooted that because they thought it was racist, but it wasn't racist.
It wasn't
It was
racist,
that
it was
a Negro,
scientific.
right,
It was
a
based
Negro
on,
cannot speak.
a Negro cannot speak
They have
because the colors, Negro, black, and colored, are slave labels that allude to the black codes of Virginia,